We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.
We got a great show for you guys today. We are going to, oh my gosh, it's Santa. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays.
Ho, 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 ho.
Very good. We're going to be right back after checking in with Horse Trailer Pros.
Merry Christmas.
Want to advertise on the John and Rick Show? Contact John at 352-875-8622.
Or call Rick at 850-879-2649.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. It is Christmas time, John, and we are in the Jump for Joy studios for the last time in 2024. It's amazing. I had a great holiday ramp up. You've had some travel. We've had some travel.
Everybody's
and it's
traveling.
Equibrew segment.
Yes, it is the Equibrew segment. We should make sure we get Equibrew in. They can be very temperamental.
Okay.
We don't get them in properly.
No, yeah, it gets a little bit. I have to take a swig of it because actually it really helps you if you have indigestion
Does it?
or any kind of tummy ailment.
But we're not suggesting we use this for people.
But you can. Okay. Just so you know.
Okay.
We took it to Africa and used it, and it was a lifesaver. Awesome. Just saying.
Well, good to know.
It's a great live probiotic. I'm telling you, today really marks the anniversary of using Equibrew. 2019, we got it, went away in 2020. Ingomar, aka Dingo, was on it and then went off of it, and he went bonkers. He was spinning, rearing. You saw him when he was really bad. So he was our Equibrew horse, and when COVID went back where we could start getting stuff, I realized it was Equibrew. It came back from New Zealand. We put him back on it. I was at my wit's end. I was having to hand drive him, do all kinds of stuff. He would stop, rear. I'd get halfway through a jumper thing or in a dressage ring.
Yeah.
Stopped doing it after 2 weeks. Has been the best horse that Dingo can be.
Right.
And he has found his wheelhouse in the jumpers and the hunters. And
yeah, so you guys had, before we get into annual meeting stuff, you guys had a pretty good day. Briggs was a star. So tell us about that.
Yeah, because of Equibrew.
Well, it may have had something to do with your husband.
Well, maybe.
Perhaps.
Yeah, we had we decided we'd do Dingo in the Hunter Derby here at HITS.
Right. And I just watched it. He looked awesome, guys.
Yeah, we had his mane and tail done every day. Diane Grodd, great woman for the jumpers, where she had the Godfather, and she also did the Hunters as longtime judge and trainer, and she's been working with Briggs. Dougie Hannum came out to watch, but it was at the HITS Showgrounds, which, by the way, everybody, looks amazing.
I know they just redid all the rings too, didn't they?
Everything. Vinny has done a great job. It looks really good there.
Cool.
It was nice being there. It felt like a whole new showground. There were 17 in the Derby, and I think he could have scored a bit better. Not a better performance. I think the judging could have scored him a bit better. It's subjective. You always do that.
They probably overheard his strategy.
Which was what?
Ring, which I was told was no strategy.
That's true. Callan Solom walks up to Briggs, we have bending lines and we have trot jumps and we have rollbacks and all this stuff. And she looks at him, and she's, Callan Solom was with me at the Hunt Club in the 90s with Elisa. And she's a great Grand Prix show jumper and a hunter rider. And she goes, "So what's the plan, Briggs?" And he goes, "I have no plan." And she went, "What?" And so it was funny to hear that. But actually, him and Diane came up with a plan. Dingo was in his wheelhouse. He went out there and just nailed the first round. And there were 17 in it. He made the cut. I think he was 8th for the cut. They took the top 12.
Right. And then that's
or
when you come
maybe it
back
was
and-
10th.
Is that when you come back and you do the
You
handy
come back
class?
and do the handy. So he came back, did the handy. Again, just really brilliant. I think Cody. Dingo had a head shake from the in and out rollback, which Briggs was the first one to do this inside the tree.
Right.
And then trotted the jump, but it was super. And he scored an 80 in that round and ended up with 156 points and finished 7th out of 17. And we couldn't have been happier. And Dingo didn't take one step wrong.
So how does it work with that? Do you hang out by the ring with your horse tacked up waiting for the...
Yeah, it actually went pretty fast. When you have the derby going, you have an order of go.
Right.
And
So
it's
it's like a jumper class.
It's like a jumper class, and they come out, you better be going back. You're going in. Literally, you come out, the next person's
And then
going
is it
in.
like a jumper class? There's no walk for the handy class. You need to know it ahead of time.
Correct. They're posted. What you do get to do at the national hunter derbies, not I heard at the international national derbies, we could hand walk the horses in for the course walk. So we all had the horses in, or at least we had
Before
Dingo.
you jump anything.
Before you jump. You can't ride it in, you can hand walk
Right.
it. So it's ring familiarization. And there's things you can do at hunter jumper shows you can't do at events. Like we can use a towel or a blanket on the rail.
Right.
Just spook them out before they go in. And
Right.
Prep was super. We hung out. It was a lot of fun. And I was just super proud of him because he did the hunters as a teenager back in the day and just never could really
So
nail
what
it.
I want to see happen is when Lucinda comes here for her annual clinic, I want you to say to her, I plan to do that in 15 strides from the table to the oxer and then 3 to the corner. And just do it straight face, like I have no plan, but do the opposite to Lucinda, and but you got to sell it. Like this is
Yeah,
what
you got to
I'm
go
doing
with.
now.
I've been
doing the hunters.
I've been doing the
I really
hunters.
want to count these numbers.
Yeah.
And
Well, and let me say this for him. He did all the numbers.
I know,
They were
I know.
bending lines. They were great. He did the 9s. He was right where he needed to
I'm
be.
not saying it was the wrong thing to do.
No,
I'm just saying
no,
it freaked people out today, and I would like you, please, to freak out Lucinda.
Let's
because
do it.
I'm always the one who does it, so it doesn't freak her out anymore because she expects it from me.
That's funny. He had done the performance hunter with him early in the week, Wednesday, Thursday, had good ribbons. It's actually second in the hack, which is good for Dingo. I think he's a great mover, but hunter people are like, oh, I don't like his canter, but I think he's beautiful and I think it's great. And then Briggs encapsulated it today by saying we had a good year. Bodie won, Booming Boudron. Where is he?
No, is that
Right
him?
here. That's him.
Well, I'm
He-
glad you know your horse. Good job.
Yeah, he won his last outing at Rocking Horse with Briggs.
Yep.
Couture, aka Hottie, was 4th at the 4-star short at Terra Nova.
Yep.
And Dingo Master, Ingo Mar,
Dingo Master, I like it.
yeah, was 7th in the National Hunter Derby at Hits. So we're really proud. Good job.
Well done.
All
Go
kinds
Briggs.
of hats. Tell us about you and your convention trip.
So it's been like a whirlwind, and some of it's all been fun.
You've been traveling a
Yeah,
lot.
so I spent 6 days in Jamaica, which was pretty much just hang out on the beach and drink rum punch
Right?
for 6 days nonstop, which is good times. But I didn't really think about, I landed on Thursday night and flew out on Friday afternoon to go teach a clinic in Tennessee at Lauren Romanelli's place, which was a great clinic. But having that kind of on the back end of a vacation is never as much fun. Like it does like I always like to do the clinic first. And
Yeah, then
take
go
the-
on vacation.
yeah.
You have to worry about it. But then you did that. Well, you've been doing. Unfortunately, you had a funeral you had to go to earlier
Yeah,
before
so
Terra
I had to go to
Nova,
my aunt's funeral,
and
and
you
then
were.
Terra
You've
Nova.
been all. I mean, and for a person who doesn't like to travel,
Yeah, I travel. That's
you
why-
travel a lot.
That's why I don't like to travel. It's because I travel a lot.
I was like, you're landing here, you're going there, you're off here, you're going there.
It's what happens when you're super important, man.
Yeah, right. And then you went to the convention.
And so then, yeah, so I did the clinic, was home for 3 days, and then flew out to Seattle, which is such a cool town. Like, hats off to Seattle. It's cool.
You know, we've been keeping a pretty straight face this whole.
Did you just read my shirt again?
Said your jingle balls.
Yeah, and your tinsel tits.
How did I get that? Is it because of my big
I think
pecs?
it's because it's Jen's shirt and it would fit you better than me.
It's like I feel muscly.
That's right. Too many days on bench press. Okay, back to it. So went to Seattle and we did the meeting.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody that can't see. They're T-shirts.
Yes, sorry. But of course they can see because you guys are just going to go to YouTube. We have 28,000 subscribers
I
on
know that.
YouTube.
We need to get it up to 46,000 next year.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
So we did all the meetings, but I have to say the main draw for me was I got to go to see the Tampa Bay Lightning play, and they destroyed Jonathan Elliott's Seattle Kraken. Like, just demolished them 5-1. John, actually, I saw him crying at one point.
Really?
Yeah, it was pathetic. And then the next day, we went to the Seattle Seahawks Green Bay Packer game. And honestly, by the end of the night, I was feeling a little guilty because the Packers destroyed the Seahawks. Like, it was ugly.
So Jonathan wasn't having that much
Oh,
fun.
he was, actually, it's a lie. He's an awesome host, and we had a great time with him. But I do enjoy giving him a hard time. And he didn't cry, but I wanted him to because it would have been fun.
So for everybody listening, and you're saying you went to the sports places, Seattle is where you were.
Yes, I was in Seattle.
Yep.
at
And
annual
the
meeting.
convention was in Seattle.
Oh, there was the convention there
Yes.
too.
The
That's right.
USEA
Yeah, the
convention,
USEA
United
convention.
States Eventing Association, right?
Yep, and so they were good meetings.
Anything?
I mean, there was a lot of stuff that came out of it. And we actually talk, when David in our next segment here, we talk a lot
I'm
about
excited about that, by
talk
the
a
way.
lot about the FEI rules and different stuff coming forward, and a lot of that will apply towards the national rules as well, because it always influences everything, right?
Yep.
So
And I know with David, I don't think I did my job very well because I didn't get the FEI kind of protocol things. You caught some of them in your conversations with him about things that are happening that the FEI are doing. But were you in the interview? Were you feeling good about what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with David is, and I think you guys will see it, like, I think anytime you have somebody in leadership and you aren't in the room with them, instinctively you're like, the FEI, or the USEF, or the USEA.
They
Like,
are
do that.
thoughtful thinkers, though.
Yeah, but when you sit down with them, and you sit down with David and talk to him about, like, okay, why are we doing this? What's the plan? There's thought behind everything that's been done, and he's actually super open and relatable and listens to
Always has been.
what you have to say. And then, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Like, he's going to, we're just going to make that happen. But, like, he does stay open and try to listen to everybody's ideas. And then you have to implement what works and what doesn't work. And I will say, like, that's the way I have found everybody at the FEI. That's the way I find everybody at USEF and USEA. Like, we're all kind of in this for the same thing. And I think that's what people will take away from the interview with David, I hope, is that, like, he's just, I'm not going to say a regular guy, because he's not a regular guy. He's just an exceptional person who gives back so much to the sport and wants to do the right things to help the sport. Everything he does is because that's the way he was raised and taught to do it.
I agree with that. I mean, and David's always been like that, always open to help. And I think anytime in leadership positions, even in our own government here in the U.S., I think, and I'm being involved in legislative issues, what I see sometimes is a solution to a problem that everybody's going for. But sometimes the outward thought of that solution is never thought out. And so what happens with the solution is there's back consequences. And I'm not saying anything specific. I'm just saying in general.
Yep.
That
There's always unintended consequences.
There's unintended consequences that fall down the lane. And I'm hopeful, and I think David has begun in his career in life, has started doing that. I think he looks further out than just the solution, which I think everybody out there should look at. There's not just one black and white solution. There isn't.
Right.
You got to really work through it and look at the gray areas and see how you navigate through it. That's just my input.
No, I think you're right. He's very thoughtful. So I'm excited for everybody to see that interview. And then I had Rusty Lowe. I think safety being obviously something
Let's tell everybody who Rusty Lowe is.
So Rusty Lowe is the VP of safety for the U.S. Eventing Association. He is a paramedic, and he is hired a lot to be the safety coordinator at various events throughout the country.
And I think with Rusty, and we're going to touch base on this real quick, I think what with Liz's fall, which we send our thoughts out to Liz
Absolutely.
and her
We're always
family,
thinking of Liz.
and hope everything's going well in her recovery. I think response time, Rusty has been very open at trying to figure out response times and control. And I think there was a rule that should have been passed, I have to look to see, where if there's intermediate, advanced, they're having more than one control.
Right.
So, and I think that was a rule change that has been made at this convention, and I need to see if that happened. And what that means is if there's levels up to a certain level, they'd have two controls, one for the lower levels and then a secondary one for the upper levels. I think
another, and I don't know that this was a part of it, but the other piece that I think is super important is having somebody who does announcing and somebody who does control.
Yeah, you can't have them
Not
both.
letting
It's
those be
hard.
the
It's
same.
hard to mingle.
There's a few people who can do it, I think, pretty well to a certain number of competitors, but really, my personal feeling is that job really should be separated.
And so people listening or watching that don't understand what control is, why don't you explain control to everybody?
Yeah, I mean, control basically is the main person in charge. They keep track of where all the horses are.
What jumps they're at.
The job part of it that I know of is they keep track of where the horses are on the course. They know where those horses are at all times, who's coming up next, when horses finish. They are the ones controlling the radio communications between the jump judges and the officials, and basically
Just knows
track of
everything. It's sort of like a spotter for the NFL football.
Correct. They're just keeping track of everything on the radio, so they know exactly where they are. And they usually have a big board, and they just move a pin as the horses go through the jumps, and they keep track of where they are.
So control are able, if there's a problem, they're able to radio to medical and say they're exactly right here, they're here, and you need to go there, and this needs to happen. It coordinates the whole response team.
Right.
The other thing, Rusty, and I want to make sure that I get to listen. You sent it to me. I haven't listened to it yet, but can't wait to listen
to it in a minute.
I know. Is when we were at Terra Nova, he has come up with this whole thing with zoning, which I think is a really cool idea. If you have like 3 medical teams there,
right?
He has zone 1 is this set of jumps, zone 2, zone 3, so they're all in close proximity of where they need to be. I think things like this is how we get better at what we do, right? And so that's good.
Yeah, and I think just having somebody that is their profession,
right?
I think is going to be. It's a pretty cool interview. He talks a lot about it, and he talks about the challenges of it as well. From state to state, things change.
Sure.
And so what you can do in Florida, you may not be able to do in Kansas. You may not be able to do in New Jersey or California.
Right.
It varies, which makes it a little tricky because it is 50 independent states.
Yeah.
Right.
We're all independent. Do what we want.
That's right. That's right. So
that's good. Well, that's a great show.
Yeah, I'm excited. And should we get to it?
I think maybe we should first do this.
What?
Got to have Briggs come over.
Briggs?
And then you can have Briggs as our Elvin.
Well, I don't know I have no idea what's about to happen.
We're going to look at everybody.
Okay.
We're going to lean in.
All right.
And we're going to say, Merry Christmas, everybody. Ready?
Okay.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Wow. That was great.
Here, let's watch some more show.
All right, we'll be right back. Thank you to Equibrew.
Yeah, thanks, Equibrew.
All right, we'll be back in the Jump for Joy studio with David O'Connor.
Equibrew, now available in the USA. It's a live probiotic that you feed daily to your horses. The live microbes go into your horse's gut and cleans up the gut wall, creating a healthy gut system.
Equibrew is an essential part of my feeding program. My horses love to eat it, and it does a really good job of promoting gut health and also good behavior and great performances.
It's something I recommend for all of your horses, no matter what they do in their careers.
It's so affordable, I can use it on all of my horses in the barn, not just my top horses.
Order Equibrew today by going to brickfieldnutrition.com or calling 850-879-2649.
Jump for Joy fences are easy to move, lightweight, durable, and low maintenance. So we're out here on the cross country. We just finished over in the show jumping over the Jump for Joy fences. Had a great time schooling over them. They're really nice and easy to move, so we were able to adjust some things and really have the exact school that we needed thanks to the Jump for Joy fences. I love them. Order yours at jumpforjoyusa.com. Grant Showalter has over 15 years of equine bodywork and saddle fitting experience. His technique allows him to identify and alleviate tightness in muscles. He uses trigger point massage to release points of restriction. Grant has over a decade of experience fitting and adjusting a wide variety of saddles. His expertise in equine physiology, coupled with a thorough understanding of the importance of a properly fitted saddle, allows him to quickly identify and correct any balance issues. Grant can also adjust your saddle on site. Grant works on all of my competition horses, and I have noticed a significant improvement in their performance at competitions and their overall way of going. Grant's based in Ocala, Florida year-round, but regularly travels to the surrounding areas. For more information or to schedule an appointment, call 484-639-4454.
Hi, my name's Leslie Lowe, and we are a proud supporter of Jump for Joy. We've been using their portable cross-country jumps now for about 10 to 15 years. We love these jumps because, as you can see, they're very easy to move. It would only take another person on the other side, and I could place this fence wherever I wanted to very easily.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are here at the USEA convention. Technically, we're in the Jump for Joy studio, so thank you to Jump for Joy for sponsoring the studio. And we have the one and only David O'Connor, which you have so many titles. How do I introduce you now?
David O'Connor's fine.
But you are the...
I work for the Federation in a chief of sport role.
Okay, so that's USEF.
So that's USEF. I also am a volunteer, right, for the FEI, and chair of the eventing committee, which put you on the board, and now on the executive board of the FEI.
Okay, so maybe I'm not allowed to ask this, but you say you're a volunteer for the FEI, so you don't get paid for that?
No.
Really?
No.
All this time I've been on that committee, and I've been like, whatever, he gets paid for that.
No, I have laughed about it over there a couple times where I said, where somebody asks you a question, I'm like, that's way above my pay grade, which is really easy when you're a volunteer. So
I'm going to remember that line.
all of the work up until now, this Federation role has all been volunteer. So
Got it. Well, thank you for doing that.
no, I'm a big believer. I was brought up that way.
Right.
And we were all tapped on the shoulder early by, my mother, who you're voluntold right from the beginning. But even with Jimmy and Jack, General Burton, and you're voluntold at the beginning.
Right.
You need to sit in this chair, and then and then I'm a big believer in that. The public service side of it, because I think the sport's small.
Yeah.
And if we don't take care of it ourselves, then it'll be taken care of by outside forces and stuff like that. So I'm a big believer in it.
Yeah, well, and you've taken that direction from your mother and passed it on to additional generations like myself and Lauren Nicholson.
Lauren and Lynn, and we've done the same thing. You just pass the same tradition on, and you think about we were all brought up in some ways by military people, right? In my generation, it was mainly military.
Right.
Now it's kind of secondary. But well, that's their culture. Is the transference and tapping young people on early. So I think it's really important that young people get involved early and become involved because it is their sport, and they have to take responsibility for it, because it's not it's not a huge sport.
Right.
When you think about global numbers and things like that, so it's important.
Yeah, and obviously I agree with you on that. So with that, obviously, I know one of the things Rick wanted me to talk to you about, and I don't have the full list, so I'm hoping you can remember at least the key ones, is the FEI came out recently with sort of their initiatives and things they're going to be moving forward on in 2025. So the ones that sort of interest me, and then if you have any other key ones, just bring them up.
Sure.
So I guess my first question is, and it's kind of, it's always front and center with the athletes, where are we at with the flag rule with the FEI, and how's that proceeding or not proceeding? What's the thought on that now?
It is being brought up in the forum. We have a big forum, which used to be basically about risk management.
Yeah, so that's the one in February.
That's the one in January, 17th through the 19th. Just make sure it's on your calendar.
I'm there, and honestly, I don't know if you, I know you must be aware because of your USEF rule, but there's actually a lot of Americans coming this year.
Yeah, so the flag rule is going to be part of that, because this forum is going to be a little bit different, because I've really structured it to be a lot more about strategic planning, about what the next 10 years would look like. And so the concept of the flag rule, because there is no rule.
Right.
And there's not even a rule has been drafted yet.
Right. But that's why I asked, because I think
No,
people make assumptions.
No, I believe me. I've lived the last year of being, And it's a concept, and there was a good athletes call a couple weeks ago, worldwide athletes call, which was good, and put their opinions forward. But I really want the debate to happen, and I want the debate to happen publicly, so that the proponents of the concept, which didn't come from me, but the proponents have their time to argue it in front of, and the people that are not for it will have time to put it forward, and then a decision will be made after that of whether that concept will get into the rule change process or not. And I have not given my opinion. I don't want to give my opinion about it at this point.
So what's your opinion?
My opinion is that I will make an opinion after the forum. And the only reason, I know that sounds trite and that you're trying to avoid the question, but it's actually not. I feel like if I said my opinion at this point, you're going to change the conversation, and I actually don't want to change the conversation. I want the debate to happen out in public and be clear and let everybody have their time to discuss it.
I completely get it and respect that. Even in my role as sport committee chair, I sometimes have to like shut my mouth. And
right, because you'll change the conversation, and then people don't speak enough,
right.
and that's never a good thing. You want people to be able to speak.
Yeah, for sure. So I appreciate that. That's good to know. So the other topic, and I would love to look at it sort of from the FEI side and then from the US side, is frangibles. And I've noticed this last year, which unfortunately I think is because of the tragedies that have happened and the accidents, that it seems like the athletes are getting more on board with the frangibles. That's just sort of my angle. I guess I'm not really asking for an opinion from you on that, but I feel like at least here in the US, the athletes that used to be really concerned about, oh, was that a false activation or was it not, seem to be coming around to, okay, actually, maybe we need to keep working on things, but this stuff's really good stuff and we need to have it. So where does for the people listening especially, where is the FEI on frangibles and their use, and how does that all work out on the course?
No, the FEI has always been supportive of it. It was the first one to really make sure that there was a science base so that it would be as predictable as I'll say it, as predictable in an unpredictable situation, in an unscientific situation,
Sure.
because horses are always going to have different forces or different, but it's based on very, very specific physics. And the FEI has been supporting of it right from the beginning. And I believe that the proliferation of it is really, really positive.
Right.
Going around the world. There's some countries that have a hard time affording it. There's no question. You go to Uruguay, they have a hard time doing it, but there are ways to be able to get that down there, right? And in different smaller countries. The U.S., a lot through your effort actually is the fundraising that happened with the frangible technology grants that are here have made a huge impact, and people are using them. People are used to them. They expect them now.
Right.
And I think that has been a huge positive change in our sport, and even the upper level course designers who weren't on board all the time at the beginning, you hear them 5-star ones that are basically saying it's actually one of the better things that we've done for improving cross-country riding.
Yeah.
Because people just take the extra care because they don't want the 11 penalties. And because they don't want the 11 penalties, they take a little bit of putting the courses together for that half a second more. And I don't think if you go watch cross-country riding now, which when we were started it 20 some odd years ago, we were accused of that we were ruining the sport and making it show jumping and all of those things and all that kind of stuff. But if you watch cross-country riding now, you don't see that.
No.
I mean, I think cross-country riding is still enjoyable to watch, and obviously I'm a big believer of the most important thing that we need to keep is the gallop. That the horses gallop over terrain and gallop, and I'm less about the fences. Right, whatever the fences are, but I really would like to keep the gallop because that's the differentiating point from the other sports. And actually, just from a personal point of view, that's the thing I enjoy the most.
For sure.
So
if you didn't, we'd show jump.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so. I think it's had a huge effect. I think it's real positive. I think the riders around the world, as you said, they're accepting it. It's part of the game. I think it's made cross-country riding better. And the numbers are showing that. I mean, we see, number of rotational falls is down almost 60%, and the number of horse falls is down almost 40% just in the last 13 years. when the data started to get reliable.
Yep. And I think that's,
so-
not to interrupt, but I think that's such an important thing because understandably, when something happens like Georgie or Liz,
Sure.
we all hear about it. We're all really upset. A lot of us
And
are
each
there,
one of them's tragic.
and it's
No.
terrible.
It's tragic.
And that's not to diminish that in any way. But I think it's also important at the same time for the sport that we have to say, on one hand, that's terrible and unacceptable, and we have to keep trying to be better, but also say, but look at the improvement we've made.
Yeah, I think that it's really important. Like when we started, I was part of the Hardington, report back in 1874. No, it's in 1999, 2000 time. And one of the things that we going through that is that we were realizing that you had no idea what you're talking about,
Right.
because you had no way to judge it. And so one of the first projects was actually boring, terrible, pedantic a little bit, was just create a database. Well, that database is given us the ability to ask the right questions now that it's reliable, and also track whether there's something that is a decision and that you've made, is it making a difference?
Right.
And the frangible technology and the MERs and the education and change in course design, they have all clearly, by the data, clearly made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And the one-off is terrible. Tragic for personal, and we want to always strive to have those go away and mitigate those. But the decisions we're making are making a difference.
Yeah,
and
and
that's got to be important.
And I would say, and I'm sort of curious on your thoughts on this, like, I remember when frangibles very early got introduced and there was no penalty. I think of myself as a pretty accurate, thoughtful cross-country rider. And I remember being out on course and there was a bounce. And in the moment, somewhere between 6 and 10 strides, I knew I wasn't quite right. And I distinctly remember thinking, it's okay. It's frangible. It'll fall down and I'll be fine and it won't matter, because there was no penalty.
Sure.
And I think that's one thing that I don't believe that's unique to me. I think that a lot of competitors in the moment don't worry about the really horrible consequence. You worry about the competitive consequence because you have that hat on when you're out there.
Sure.
And I remember riding up and I got it right and stayed up and it was fine. And I galloped away, and instantly, while I was still on course, like galloping away from that combination, I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, that should never enter my mind. So when I hear people talk about, well, there shouldn't be a penalty for it, I think there has to be a penalty for it. Otherwise, I think it will change the way people ride the fences.
I would agree. The 11 penalties, it's, you're tapping into the competitive nature. And, but with that, then you ride it just that extra little bit, more thoughtful.
Right.
And it's made a big difference. And I think people are used to it. And the other question that you would want to ask is that in a big championship, let's say Olympic Games, or you're talking about, here at home at Kentucky, do you want the winner to have knocked down cross-country fences
Right.
when 40 other people did not?
Right.
And so I think that's one of the things. It's gone beyond a little bit just that they're saving the fall or, minimizing the fall, but it is, is that the image that you want?
Right.
And that was an argument that I remember going to a big conference over in London, flying in, that I was asked to go over. And that was the discussion, kind of like the flag roll, how emotional.
Keep going like I'm not moving.
It was very emotional at this time about going, about whether it was going to be 11. And there were, the proponents, and then there were people like that. And it was at the London Hotel, and across the street across the hall, they were having a conference. Bayer Pharmaceuticals was having
Right.
and they were showing videos, and half the people were, horses sliding and over fences, and half the people celebrating, like, seeing that's cross-country riding, because they stood up. And I'm like, take that video across the hall
Right.
to Bayer and ask for sponsorship.
Right.
They're going to laugh you out of the room.
Right.
And so I think, having an outside perspective also, let's just say, do you really want the person that wins Kentucky to have knocked down 1 or 2 fences out on cross country?
Right.
Looking at it from another perspective is important. It's not the only perspective, but it is a perspective.
Well, especially if you want to sell it to the world.
Totally.
So on that note, and I've kind of been on this, and take away the the mandatory flag penalties and all of that stuff and review and all of that. But I think it is there should be more of a penalty for knocking down a fence than a flag. So I think, and I understand how it happened. It was just kind of the way things evolved. We needed to differentiate for the scoreboard. But whether we go down the road of we are going to have every flag be a penalty or not be a penalty, that if you just knock one down or not, whether we do that, I still think that scoring is wrong. So if we said, right, we're not going to change it, we're not going to make all flags mandatory. If you touch one and it falls down, it's not going to be the thing. I still think it should be more than a show jump pole, but less than knocking down a frangible fence.
Yeah, I mean, I could see in certain situations that's a very valid argument, and one that is coming forward as we go, as we kind of listen to everybody.
Perfect. The housekeeping's here. We're in here.
I think it's a very valid argument, for that is coming forward about the, whether 15 or 11 is the right ratio.
Right.
Remember that the 15 penalty only came out because it was trying to have somebody not get eliminated.
Right.
If there was a question of whether they jumped the corner or not, or the narrow panel or not, that you wouldn't get eliminated, and you got a 15 penalty. That's where that started from.
Absolutely. I just wonder if we got it right.
So, well, yeah. I mean, you can argue it lots of different ways. I also argument like if you miss a flag at a corner or something like that, should you actually get eliminated if you don't know?
Right.
I mean, or so that maybe that's another higher penalty or something like that. But
Right.
I hate watching somebody that actually does miss a corner, and it's deemed to miss a corner afterwards, but they're not quite sure of whether they did or not, and it's the sixth fence.
Well, but
and they go all the way around the course, but then they get eliminated. I don't think that's right.
Right.
So I think we need to look at that also.
But I think that's sort of part of the thing is you're not going to win if you miss that corner and
Right.
just get the 6, if that's what or 5 or 7 or whatever.
Right.
Because if you miss the fence and you jump outside the flag, you're still going to get eliminated.
Right. But a horse that just hits one hard enough behind that he's not going to fall, but he's like that, and it has the back rail of an oxer or something like that is frangible, is missing a corner, or that worse?
I would say that's worse myself, because you're talking, 240 joules of force? I'm using rough numbers, and Dave
Sure.
Voss will tell me I'm wrong I'm always wrong. I have it written down on my
think it's
phone, but my phone is
270 right now.
270. Okay. And a show jump pole is 5.
Yes.
So I think that's the other thing that people, and I try to explain to people, and again, I know it's not like my version of it isn't 100% accurate, but if you hit a heavy back rail of a cross-country fence and it takes 270 joules of force to knock that down versus 5 for a show jump pole, I would say that it is very likely that your horse is not going to be jogging up the next morning if it doesn't fall down.
Could be.
So that's just my thought on it.
Yeah, no, I think they're all valid, and the conversations that are happening out there, and you kind of keep throwing it up, which ones into the other training point of view, is a run out worse than a stop?
Right.
You're always kind of balancing all those kind of questions.
Okay, so staying on this, and I do have another thing that I know I need to get to or Rick will fire me. But staying on this, on the U.S. side, we've talked a little bit, and I think we can talk about it here, about we're trying to, obviously as a country, I would say we're trying to be the leaders and get this technology out, push it out there, make it as available to the organizers and therefore the competitors as we can. Funding is a huge part of that. And we did all that fundraising that all the U.S. Members did, and the Manton Foundation helped with. So are we we're going to at some point have to do something to raise more money, right?
Yeah, it's a never-ending process, right? So, and we have to make sure that, we don't just run out of this fund and then suddenly everybody, now what do we do?
Right.
So I do believe that fundraising needs to continue now, or start now.
Right.
And then I also think that maybe all of our members could contribute automatically.
Right.
Through some type of fee, which I think everybody would actually buy into.
Sure.
In the end, from a training level on up, the people that are using it, as a small part of their entry fee, would that go into this type of fund so that we can make sure that this frangible technology and even the next technologies that are maybe down the road as they come down, as
Right.
people figure out what the mechanical fuse and all that kind of stuff, where that could be slightly different for new ideas, that this is now a part of our sport.
Yeah.
And and we all know that expenses go up for everybody, organizers and everybody. But there's got to be a little bit of a pay to play here, I believe. So I could see a mixture of that, of fundraising, and also some type of starter fee that would go straight to the technology fund. I think it's an important way for forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I am interested what the membership would think of that, because when I talk to people, the instant answer is, well, yeah, of course. Of all the stuff we pay, of course we would want to do that.
Sure.
But I also realize that when I talk to people, they know they're talking to me, right? A little bit like we're talking about being a chair and not trying to direct the conversation. So I do wonder, when people listen to this, especially those guys on YouTube, put the comments in there and we can have some conversation there, because I am curious, what do the base of our sport really think about that? Because for me, the argument is, even if you're never going to ride training level, or let's say you're riding training level and you'll have some frangibles, but you're not going to have as much of it come to your level of sport as you would at a 5-star. I'm of the mindset that if we don't continue to evolve and make things as safe as they can be, the trickle-down effect is it's going to affect the whole sport.
Oh, completely. I mean, there's no question, and it is a direct benefit, right? I mean, that let's say it's $5 or let's say it's $10 or something like that, right? Which, in the long scheme of things is not a lot. But there's a direct benefit that comes back to you competing on that day, and there's a direct benefit to the sport and being able to play the sport. And it is a 1-for-1.
Right.
Right. It's not all right, so somebody's going to take 10% of it or 20% of it, and there's administrative costs and there's all that kind of stuff. This is a 1-to-1. If that fund gets to be $20,000, then $20,000 are going to be given directly to organizers to build these to buy the system to build these fences. So there's a direct benefit there, and yes, we all deal with a lot of fees. We all deal with none of us like governments, in some ways because of what we feel like they have to pay. But then you start to look around. Well, that's my road, or that's my.
Right.
You're like, okay, I gotta play my part somewhere.
Well, and that's where I think the
so
U.S.
I think it's here.
Eventing Association was so smart when they started the frangible effort. They would attach a plaque
Sure.
to the jumps, so that when you're out walking your course, you go, okay, that's one of the jumps we bought.
One of the jumps.
That's one of the jumps that the membership did, which I think is great.
So it's a 1-to-1, a direct payback, and I think that's and a direct benefit, to the sport as a whole. I mean, there's no in between.
Right. Okay. So the last topic, which obviously you have to be a little careful about, and I don't want to get into any specifics, which actually usually upsets people when they listen, but I think it's the right way to do it, is all of this equine welfare review. I know FEI has their thing. Mm-hmm. Now USEF. Just explain that to me so we all understand, because that changed now, and now it's not just in competition sort of abuse or welfare cases with the horses, but it also can be done out of competition.
Yes.
So what's that? What does that look like?
So the rule is called 838, right? So it's in the USEF rules that the jurisdiction always with the USEF was on competition grounds.
Right.
There was always 838's been there forever. It's been a list and a list of things that you couldn't do. You can't poll horses. You can't electrify them. You can't, things that came out from over the years, the last 50 years of.
Which I think
we can't do that anymore.
The unfortunate thing is all of that stuff you put in there because, oh my
it
gosh,
all
that happened.
Oh, completely.
Right.
I mean, there's, we have videos in public of show jumpers, right? Well, they're polling them, and it's on the movies.
Right.
So, all of these things, drugs and medication, right? That all started because people, got to the abuse side. So it was a list, very much of a kind of extensive list. It was a long rule. And basically what we did, we turned it into getting away from the use of the word abuse and more turning it into ethics, ethical treatment of horses. and then having in categories.
So hold on. So why would you get away from abuse and ethical?
Because I think the big thing is that if you think about ethics, it's about ethical treatment, right? It's the same thing with horses and the same thing with people and the same thing with officials. So one, that starts to tie together a little bit more. It's about ethical behavior of what we would expect members and people to be.
But who decides that then?
And that's all the way through, our officials being on site and determining that they think that crosses a line.
Okay.
Like a horse that's behind the vertical. If you're behind the vertical for 10 seconds, that's not real harm.
Right.
Right? But if he's there because somebody's moving around and doing a lot of things for 10 minutes and the horse is seriously, the official then has the ability to say something.
Okay, so.
So you go in, so we changed the rule into these categories. There's equipment, there's behavior. So it's a little bit broader, and it's going to come down to anybody from the outside making a determination. But the big change of the scope is that it is now can reach out to what you do on an everyday basis outside the competition ring. But this is the huge caveat that everybody does it. The USEF is not coming to look for this.
Right.
They have no warrant power. They have no subpoena power. They can't come onto your farm and come looking for this. It is only whether somebody brings the USEF clear information that is verifiable. Even if it's video, they can be tracked to see if it's been altered or not.
Right.
Witnesses. So, and if that is brought to the Federation, then the Federation now has the ability to start a proceeding, which when the first part was an investigation, which takes a long time. And then it's kind of like law and order. You got
and
police
I think that's
do one
important.
thing.
It takes a long time.
It does, and it's like the police thing, right? You look at law and order. Police do their work, and then they take it to the court, and then there's a charge, and then there's whatever.
Staff in USEF that handles this?
There is staff in the USEF. We've just hired an investigator that this is going to be his job. It is only so the rule is now in effect is from December 4th forward. So not retroactive.
That's my question. So they can't go back and find videos?
Not going to go back. I figure it's just too big, could be too big of a thing to just swamp everybody.
Right.
But it is only things that are brought to the Federation. And I think that's really important. Nobody's going around onto your farm looking for it.
So what if somebody puts a video on Facebook and that video is a case of abuse and
the person that took it really needs to.
So USEF can't find it and say, John was doing this, and
if you're not a witness, right? If you're not a witness,
but you could I'm just thinking conceivably, you could contact the person with the video and say, "Hey, that looks like something we should look into."
But somebody's got to bring. But somebody's got to bring it into being submitted, and there is a hotline in the USCF, and I'm sorry that I don't have that.
Well, they can go to USEF.org and get all the numbers.
And there's a hotline for bringing some of these reports forward.
Right.
They can be taken anonymous if somebody doesn't want to speak up. But the thing about anonymous, when they go through the investigation process, it's harder to prove if somebody's not going to be present.
Sport.
Right. It's the exact same. So you have to be willing. And there are some big cases out there that are, at first, because we didn't have jurisdiction, had to be turned over to the FEI because they do with FEI competitors. But within our family now, if some of those things happen, they're going forward. They're in the process.
That case is going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, their case is, but all those are going forward. And you lose when it goes there. It goes kind of quiet just because of the legal process, right? Yep. Making sure that witnesses don't get intimidated.
Yep.
That's a big thing.
Yep. Making
sure that the legal process is so buttoned down that it doesn't get overturned in an appeal process.
Right.
That is seriously important.
Absolutely huge.
And so it is very specific, and that's kind of why it goes goes quiet. And that could be literally 4 or 5 months.
Okay, so I was just going to say, how long do we think this usually takes?
Usually it's like 4 or 5 months of investigation to make sure that they have enough information, so when they're ready to put it in front of the FEI tribunal and us or our hearing committee, that a determination is made, is it chargeable, and then it's by the investigating group.
Right.
And then it is turned to the hearing committee, and then the hearing committee, that panel then allows, I'm the one that's in trouble, But I have the right to defend myself in front of that hearing, and you have the right because you sent it in to me,
Right.
Or sent it in to them about me. Then you have that right to say your piece. I have that right to say that piece, and the independent panel then makes a decision about what a penalty, appropriate penalty, would be.
Okay, and so let's say you get penalized by the FEI and they say, David, you're suspended for 6 months.
Yep.
Not going into what USEF would do.
No, it's reciprocal.
So could USEF say, we're going to let him compete at the national horse
No.
shows? No.
No,
Not
reciprocal.
allowed. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, that was my other question. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
no, that's definitely reciprocal because we're a national federation of an IF.
And
It's
is that
kinda like,
every member of the FEI,
Yes.
like any other country?
yeah, that's worldwide.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's good to know.
Yeah.
good.
So it's laborious
Yeah.
and specific, and it's specific basically because you want to make sure you get it right.
Right.
And you also have to make sure that in the laws of legal land that you have the right, or I have the right, and since I'm the one that's charged, that I have the right to be able to try to defend myself.
Sure.
And then it's put in front of an independent panel. So, unfortunately, all that takes time. And you think even most of the courts, the big cases, how long they take.
Oh, yeah.
Some dragged out for years and years and years,
Yeah, intentionally.
using that system intentionally. And so, and unfortunately, that out in the social media world, that is, not sometimes not understood. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But sometimes not understood, and then they're saying everybody's just not doing anything. They're hiding it under the table. They're sweeping it under the rug, and that's just not the case.
Right. Well, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I think that is the impression people get. And
But there's a lot of cases that actually don't get to the place through the investigation process that actually get in front of the hearing committee because there's not enough evidence.
Right.
Because people won't stand up or they won't like that. It's amazing actually in the hearing process how many cases are not put forward because there's not enough evidence. Because if you're willing to say it and if you're willing to, you got to be able to stand up and say this actually happened.
right. Yeah. I think that's
And there are
a good point.
and we have anti-retaliation things, and we have also malicious acts. So if you did it because you just don't like me, which
It's possible.
it's possible. It depends on the day. But if I on the Wednesday really tick you off, and so you're going to turn me in on
Right.
Wednesday night, and it's shown that you're doing it because you're bad at me. That's actually can get into in the process
Get
and
flipped around.
get flipped around, and now we're coming after you because you did it in a malicious way.
Right. That's an important piece to know too, because I think that is the one thing people worry about. Is like, oh well, what if I'm, tough on this person because I need to be, and then they get upset about it.
And that's actually, they're in two places, and I know it's kind of pedantic, but in the end, the Code of Conduct, USEF Code of Conduct, which is on the website, it's an important document to read because it's quite strong.
Right.
And this ethical treatment of horses in 838 are two places that is not that long, but it's those are two good places to learn about the process.
Right. I mean, I've read them from cover to cover.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have. Yeah.
I'm
we
sure
worked.
you have.
We worked very, very hard on this 838 because I think it's the right thing to do.
Right.
And we went industry wide and had a lot of negotiation back and forth.
I'm
to
sure you
get
did,
to
because
the
I
place.
remember it was last year or the year before. I got a
Yeah.
call right before Christmas from you being like, look, this is what we got to do, and talking about it.
Right.
And I know that, I think people don't understand the amount of effort it takes to get something like that is the right thing to do forward and done.
Yeah, it's a year's process to be able to get it done.
Yeah.
And
Years and years, really, because you have to take time to get it right.
Sure.
And then you put it forward and then get it passed, and then it takes time for protection.
have people comment and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, but it was, I think it was an important milestone to have the ability to do that. Now, what you would like as my Christmas present
Yes.
is that it would never be used.
Right. That would be great.
That would be my Christmas present, is that you would never have to worry about it. And it would never be used. Right?
Well, and-
because culturally, I think there are culture changes that are happening. As I said, even our culture changed from a horse point of view, that we were brought up by military guys, and they were good horsemen, no question, but things had to happen now,
Sure.
right? And now.
Yep.
And now the culture's changing, and there's another way to do it, and more exploratory sides of the horsemanship side across the board. And I think that's a very positive move for equestrian, and be willing to, like on our farm at home, like that's an open door. Anybody wants to come watch us train every day? Come on.
100%. And
Come
I'll
on
tell you
over.
what, we've evolved even at our place, because I think we're very fair and kind with the horses. But when this all started going down, and like I remember the Mark Todd video came out and a couple other videos came out, Jen and I got together and we were like, right, no video. Nobody videos on the farm. And we actually had a little situation with one person who innocently had a video, and the horse fell down. It was nothing that was done wrong, but then that video got out to different people, and we were like, okay. And it wasn't their fault at all, but we were just like, no video. And then I talked to you, and you were like, and I've repeated this to several people, and I always quote you so you get full credit, don't worry. But I say, David actually said the best thing, which was, if you can't do it in Central Park in front of people who don't know horses, then don't do it.
Right.
And so-
Figure out another way. And there are other ways.
Yes, and this is the thing I was going to say. So we then changed. Is that right? You know what? Video. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Video.
Totally.
Because it does make me where you might continue to pressure a situation. Go, well, there's got to be something better I could do. And I would tell you that maybe not every time, but virtually every time. You know what? Not even virtually. Every time, the horses are better.
Sure.
And some days that means I go, I can't get this today. I got to figure out a different
absolutely.
way, and I walk away.
You break the cycle.
Yeah, and it actually has made me a better horseman, a better trainer. And I learned that a
Absolutely.
little bit at COVID, because there were no competitions, so I wasn't stressed out
Right.
training. And I was like, oh my God, the horses are so much happier and they go better. And I've tried to remember that. And then this came up, and that made me remember it as well. So like I said, we've evolved. We went from that situation where it was like, okay, no more video, to now it's like, anybody, same deal. You want a video? Come in, video, enjoy the farm,
Yeah.
and see how we do this.
Yeah, the now comes from us, right? Because of competitive pressure and whatever pressures that everybody's under. The now comes from other horses don't have that now,
Right.
right? And you say, I need it now because I'm doing something tomorrow, and the horse doesn't know what tomorrow is.
Right.
So he doesn't know the Olympic Games is in a week, or the My Novice Championships is
But
in
you've
3 days.
always
and
been
so-
that way. And I remember when I trained with you regularly, going into an advanced competition, and you said, well, he just doesn't do that change, so don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Like, you're
at
not going
this
to have
point.
that today, and we'll just do the rest of the test as good as we can. We're not going to make the change happen, because one, it's not fair on the horse, but two, it's actually not going to be a good change anyway.
Right,
You're just going to
yeah.
ruin the rest of the
Yeah,
test.
it's a 4 or 6 month. I very much think in timelines, down the future. So, I believe this is the same thing, and you're trying to change a bit. It will have an effect on the culture, which I hope is in a positive way, and I hope in a positive way for the horses.
Yeah. No. Well, this has been super helpful. I appreciate you coming up here.
My
I know
pleasure.
you've got, I'm sure, another meeting to go here shortly. And then you leave soon, yeah?
I have to leave in the morning, yeah.
Right.
So I have to go home for
So you're
a
not
couple
sticking
things.
around to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Green Bay Packers?
I'm not go put the cheese head on, Joe.
Do you want the cheese head?
No, I think, but I do think I've seen you in this before,
wanna-
but
you
I
should
really
try it on.
I really think that you should.
You should try it on.
I don't know.
No,
if
put it on, and then I can screenshot this.
Do you have some disinfectant? No.
It's 20 years old.
Oh my God.
It's pretty tight, huh?
That's like really uncomfortable.
I know. I have to wear it on Sunday, and I'm not actually looking forward to it.
They're not custom made.
No, shockingly enough. All right.
Well,
Well,
good
listen,
luck. Have fun.
I will. It is super
I'll
uncomfortable.
think of that image right now. That'll
Thank
stay
you.
with me for a
Thank
while.
you. All right. So, seriously though, thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy these, with you guys sitting there and talking about it. So.
Well, we appreciate it, and we'll catch you. Actually, I guess I'll hopefully see you over Christmas, but if not, I'll see you in Switzerland.
Happy
at
holidays,
the
and we'll see you at the
NSO
forum.
meeting. Yeah.
That'll be a good one. I think
what forum, our risk management. What do we call this?
No, this one's just a forum. We're just talking about the eventing forum.
Okay.
So, but I'm looking forward to it because I think it is going to be a very, I think it's going to be a real informational weekend that, talking about where the direction of the sport goes.
Cool. Well, I'm excited for
Yeah,
it.
it's great.
I always like a trip. Lausanne is one of the most
Beautiful.
beautiful places.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping I get at least a day to go out on the water. I did that last time.
Yep.
So,
Go across the lake to France, to Avion.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, listen, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Cool.
And we will be right back in the Jump for Joy studio. Thank you to Horse Trailer Pros for sponsoring the show. Those guys are amazing. If you ever need anything done on your horse trailers and you're in the southeastern United States, look up Matt and his team and they will take care of you.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Hey, it's John here. I just want to let you guys know I got back from schooling at Magnolia Sands Farm here in Ocala, Florida. Their cross-country field is perfectly suited for a first outing on a young horse or schooling your upper-level horse. Magnolia Sands offers over 110 jumps ranging from starter to intermediate, plus multiple banks, ditches, and waters. They're constantly updating their courses and have even added new ditches and a starter ditch wall. Conveniently located in Northeast Ocala, Magnolia Sands has made it easy for riders and trainers with online waivers, Venmo, and PayPal, and even offer a golf cart for guests. MagnoliaSandsFarm.com. Reset, reboot, rebuild, restore. Experience the transformative power of our formulas you can trust. Elevate your horse's well-being from the inside out with Parkmore supplements. European designed, American manufactured, and Kentucky Proud certified. Parkmore's Devil's Own Detox, nature's own binding agent, cleansing your horse's system. Now available for your canine kids too. Say goodbye to unwanted elements and hello to vitality. Parkmore Special Vitamin Mineral Supplement, a micronutrient powerhouse. No fillers, just 4 ounces a day for a 5-star adventure to thrive. Because excellence deserves exceptional nutrition. Parkmore GLF Immunobooster. Unleash the magic gold, the #1 building block for cell replication. Elevate wellness and recovery for your horses and dogs, whether after training, travel, competition, or during periods of injury, illness, or surgery. Parkmore HI Oil Infusion. Customize your blends of herbs and spices to naturally combat inflammation, bacteria, and restore gut flora. Elevate your horses and dogs' appetite naturally. Expert guidance awaits. For more information, schedule an online, telephone, or on-site consultation with Fleur or one of our dedicated team members. Visit parkmoresupplements.com or call, text at 502-265-8345 to elevate your companion's well-being today. Since 1950, Maison Forestier has been offering its know-how to design custom-made saddles for passionate riders. In 2016, Maison Forestier took a turn and expanded into the sports world with the goal of improving the performance of the rider-horse pair. You will find a professional, reactive, and fun team to answer your needs. And this is why I have chosen Forestier for all of my saddlery needs. Feel free to contact the saddle expert in your area for more information by visiting www.forestier.com.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We're still here at the USEA annual meeting, and we are in the Jump for Joy studio. We've got Rusty Lowe, so thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And you're here as the VP of Safety for the USEA.
That's correct.
I got the title right. All right, awesome. So we wanted to have you on because obviously safety is a huge topic every year for eventing, and certainly at the annual meeting, it's always a big thing. And we've had, like every year, different stuff going on. And I think you had some stuff in particular that you kind of wanted to make sure we hit on. So first of all, what's your history? What qualifies you to be the VP of Safety? And you can drink your beer on air, it's fine.
Okay. I've been a paramedic for 42 years, okay. And I was introduced to this sport by my former wife. At the time, I went to a horse show for the first time. It was the Cahaba Horse Trials in Birmingham back in about Cahaba.
I've never heard of the Cahaba Horse Trials.
Oh, wow. Now date yourself, because this was back in 1994. Were you even born then?
I was a junior in high school.
Okay, all right. And the Cahaba Horse Trials is in Birmingham, and where I'm from. And the medical staff at the time didn't show up, and so they asked me, would I be the medical person? And I was like, sure, this could be easy.
Right.
Then I saw cross country for the first time, right up, and I was like, oh my God. And actually that day, a tornado came over the event, and we had to evacuate people and horses and do all sorts of crazy things. And that should have been a clue right then to just run as far as I can.
Yeah, that might have been not like the best first sign.
Right, exactly. But for some reason, I latched onto the sport and loved it. And ever since then, I have worked at different events. My first major event was Foxhall, and then worked into the FEI events, and became a member of the safety committee back then, because that was after there were several accidents right around the late 90s. There were several accidents and fatalities in the sport, and part of the concern was medical response. And do we have adequate medical care at competitions? And the answer was no. And so at that point in time, I worked with the safety committee that was primarily physicians then, as a paramedic, and we worked on the safety coordinator's manual. We worked on medical requirements for events, and since then it's just kind of morphed into a passion. And I am the safety coordinator, medical officer for several events in the U.S., and have been involved in the committee. So I was asked to be the VP of safety a few years back, and I accepted the charge. And I think it's a great responsibility that I don't take lightly. I think there are a lot of people counting on me. This sport is a family, and every competitor, every official, and everybody I feel like is my family, and I'm responsible for their well-being.
Well, and I know we all feel that way. Like every time I see you at an event, I say, "It's good to see you. I hope I don't have to see you."
That's exactly right. No, that's exactly right. I prefer to have conversations when we're doing something like this, rather than professionally. So that's kind of where it's developed over the last 20 or so years. And here we are today. And I think we just got through with a fairly monumental meeting to get something going that we can talk about. But I feel like that as a team, the sport has really come a long way with safety. And I think we've reached a point now, as far as with medical requirements and some of the safety equipment that we have, that a lot of it goes back to what are we going to do with rider responsibility now.
Right.
We've got a lot of good things in place that we need to constantly reevaluate, and if there's a better mousetrap, let's use it. But I think a lot of that is my responsibility to kind of drive the bus, and for the committees and the people that are on the committees that really do a good job and work hard. I think it's my job to kind of coordinate that and bring it back to the board and help make change within the sport.
So going back just to the medical at the event job, because that did come up this year. So I show up to an event, I see you, I see your team. What are the requirements for the medical personnel that are there, like as far as certification and equipment? Basically, as a competitor, what can I count on?
Right. What we expect, and there's a footnote that I'll get to, what we expect at an event is to have the highest level EMS provider available at that event. And
that's because it changes from state to state? Right.
It changes from state to state. The certifications and abilities of EMS providers are different in all 50 states of the United States.
Does that change county to county, or just state
to state? It can. And so there's a lot of difference there. So it's very hard to make a specific requirement to be a requirement for every event in the United States.
Okay.
So we have to keep it general, and basically what we would like to see is the highest level EMS provider that's available in that county or region or wherever it is, whoever governs that, to be present at the event. Now, depending on the size of the event, do we need just one person or do we need 20? It just depends on the size of the event.
And who decides that?
Actually, the safety coordinator. That's a position that was developed in the late 90s to be the person at the event that is responsible for the emergency action plan and working with the officials and the organizer.
And do they have to be qualified in some way?
We do have a test. There's a test that you can take online for on the USEA website that brings it in and certifies you as a safety coordinator through the USEA.
Okay, but you don't have to be an EMT or a doctor.
No, you don't have to have any medical training. I just happen to. But some of the best safety coordinators in the United States are not even medically trained. They're organizers and make sure that the EMS providers that are at the show know what's going on. I mean, they know what cross country is. They know the risks. They know that there's a plan in place. Make sure that everybody's in line with the plan. And if something happens, it's their job to make sure that these people are able to get and respond to the location of the emergency.
Okay.
And if there's more than one emergency at the same time, your organization skills come into place as far as who's going in what direction, and making sure that the officials and everybody involved with the event are aware of what's going on, and make sure that our athletes get taken care of and treated properly.
Okay. So, just because I think this is something that gets talked about, and I think a lot of people get it, but I want to make sure everybody gets it. So
Sure.
if I go to an event and I see, we have this in Florida, I see my medical team there, and they're sitting in a pickup truck or UTV, does that differ from if they're sitting in an ambulance?
Sure, and it depends on where you are, and it differs, but it doesn't. At most events on the cross-country course, you really don't want to drive an ambulance out onto the course,
Okay.
because of the terrain.
Right.
So a lot of times there's an ATV, a UTV, a golf cart that's outfitted with a stretcher in the back.
Right.
And so usually those are your primary response vehicles that go out to the cross-country course and evaluate and start treatment on the patient. And then they're transferred either to a location where an ambulance, a local ambulance, comes in and there's a handoff,
Right.
or the ambulance on site may transport the person off. It's different everywhere.
Okay.
And some places all you see are ambulances,
Right.
and some places all you see are ATVs or UTVs or a four-wheel drive truck or something like that. It just depends on the local EMS system. We have a problem in the United States right now. After COVID, not a whole lot of people want to be in the EMS profession anymore.
Okay.
We're working on that, trying to recruit folks and get them there. So we're having more and more trouble at events actually getting the proper number of medical people. Maryland 5-star, we really had to work hard to get a full crew. And
But you did
as you
get a
know, at a
full crew?
5-star, we did have a full crew, but we had to get people from other counties and other departments where normally we could, we could call the primary provider. They would be there. It was okay. So, it doesn't happen just at the small events. It happens at the large events.
Right.
And whoever's in charge of that really has to work hard to make sure that we have the proper number of EMS providers at the event, or the best we can do at the event.
So what prevents an event from having substandard care personnel at the competition? And I know there's got to be an answer for it, but if I
Right.
wanted to run an event and I call up the company and they're like, yeah, we can't really provide that, but we can send you this, it's not quite what you need.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps that from happening?
The USEF rules and the FEI rules and guides, are a guideline, and the safety coordinator is a part of that, as well as the organizer and the officials. And you just have to do the best job you can to get the best level of care possible at the event.
But is there a minimum standard?
Yes, there's
Okay.
a minimum standard of one EMS provider and equipment at the event.
Okay, so I guess that's my question.
Right.
An event can't run if they don't have
Correct.
that.
Correct. Now, if an event really wanted to do a crappy job of running an event, it's a USEF event, they could have one provider at the event and
Right.
they meet the requirement.
Okay.
But,
Which isn't great, but I guess the point is there is a minimum standard
Correct.
we have to have.
Correct.
Right, okay.
And we look at that all the time. And a matter of fact, we're looking at that right now on the USEF level and at the FEI level, just looking at requirements again, just to see if we can adjust them a little bit more, just to make sure we're getting the best level of care we can at every event, which
Right.
is hard as hell to do.
Right. Right.
It's something that I fret over all the time. And, there are people out there, there are organizers out there, there are people in every sport or in every business that are going to do
Sure.
the least they can to get by. We try to identify those and rectify those problems. But unless the officials really pay attention and the sport is, doing its job by kind of policing itself.
Right.
We don't know that this is happening. So what we're trying to do is just make it, get the best care possible at every event.
Right.
Whether it's 10 horses or 1,000.
But so a parent who doesn't know much about the sport can at least be confident there's going to be one person in an ambulance or an EMT there.
Sure.
Not an ambulance, but right,
Sure.
Right. Which, again, I just think that's not the norm. You're
Right.
usually going to have a lot more than that. And it's
Correct.
in general. I mean, so I guess the question is, and because I don't want it to be like a commercial for safety in eventing, like, oh,
Right.
everything's great. But is it, in general, we do a pretty good job, would you say?
Yes,
Okay.
I would say. And the other equestrian disciplines look to us for guidance
Right.
a lot of times.
So we're on it.
Right, we're on it,
Right.
and we I think do a pretty good job.
Right.
And there's always room for improvement.
Right.
And I'm always looking for, like I said before, a better mousetrap,
Yep.
or what can we do to improve what we're doing. But we have a lot of dedicated people that are on the safety committees and are providing oversight. Dr. Mark Hart is the Chief Medical Officer for the
he's
Federation and with the FEI, and he and I work together on a regular basis. I learn something from him every day. You work together with him through the FEI, being the National Safety Officer. So
Yeah.
we've got a really good, motivated team that's paying attention and reviewing accidents, and just looking at what could be done better.
All right. So if you had, like, this is your chance. If you had one thing that you would like to say, like, that you want to, this is what we need to get, this is what we need to fix, or this is where we can have, what would that be?
I would love to be able to say we had an ambulance that was available at every event with 2 paramedics on it that was ready to go at all times.
Okay.
And we do have that at a lot of events, but there are some areas of the country where they just can't dedicate an ambulance to the event. So you do have your EMS personnel that's on site, but that ambulance is not right there. And so the paramedics or EMTs that are on site initiate care, and there's a few things you need to do before you load the person up and
Right.
get them going to the hospital. So the ambulance is responding in, but sometimes there's that situation where you really just need to get up and go in a hurry. And most places do have a plan for that, and it works great.
Yep.
But there's some really rural areas that I really wish we could have an ambulance at every event with 2 paramedics in it, and we could, I feel like we could do a lot with that.
Right.
But that is not possible in the United States right now.
Yeah, that's not a sport thing. That's and I think that's important.
Right.
That's not eventing can't get this done, or
Right.
this horse trial can't get this done.
It happens
That's
at the football field down the street. It happens at the soccer tournament
Right.
down the street from the event.
That's
it's
a
not
nationwide issue.
Right. It's just not our sport.
Right, and I think that's an important
Yeah.
thing to know. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Anything else you want to make sure we get on?
No, I just want to appreciate everybody that's involved in what we do. The safety coordinators, the EMS personnel that really work hard in the sport.
Yep.
I think sometimes they don't get recognized.
For sure.
And funny story, I always tell them at the beginning of an event, I'm going to apologize for the competitors now, because when they fall, usually they're going to be okay, and they're
Yeah.
not going to be happy.
Yeah.
So don't expect a smile when you go to check a competitor, and it's okay. So and I know the competitors appreciate later on these guys, but they've already left. But I want to thank all the people that work with us at the events, especially the EMS folks and the organizers and the officials and everybody in the sport that supports what we do and understands what we do and why we do it.
Right. Well said. And I think that's actually a good point. I got told by a judge that one of the competitors came up to them and thanked them in the middle of the competition, just said, "Thanks for being here. We appreciate you guys." And he said it went such a long way. And it's a good point that I've actually never thought of. It probably would go a long way to go up to that crew, that EMS crew, or any of them that are there, and say, "Thanks for being here."
Certainly. It means a lot. It means a lot to me when y'all say it to me.
Yeah.
And it's something very simple. Most EMS folks don't do it to get awards and
Right.
be held in high regard. They do it because they love the job. It's certainly not for the money.
Right.
And so, I mean, a simple thank you, pat on the back, thanks for being here. Give them a hat with your team name on it or something like that. That goes a lot further.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and that's something I'll try to remember going forward, because I'm kind of embarrassed. I've never really thought of it till now. You just assume they're going to be there and take care of you, and they are. So,
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you coming up in the middle of a busy day, and we're sort of partway through the weekend. We get to watch hockey.
Absolutely.
Going to go watch the Lightning. Who are you going to cheer for, the Lightning or the Kraken?
I don't know. I'm not a hockey fan. I've never been to a hockey match before, so I'm excited. So I guess I pull for the local guys.
The fact that you call it a match proves
Right.
that you haven't been to a hockey game.
What is it? Is it a game or a match?
It's a game.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, man. All right.
See, I actually learned something from you today.
There you go. You don't have to sound so surprised by that. All right,
it.
Rusty, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it. And thank you to you guys for watching today's show.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everybody, and happy holidays, and have a
Be safe.
great New Year. Yeah, be safe, so we don't have to have Rusty or any of his crew come and take care of anybody over the holidays.
That's right.
And thank you to Horse Trailer Pros again for sponsoring the show. They're such an amazing company, great guys to deal with. Thank you to Horse Trailer Pros for that, and thank you to Jump for Joy for the Jump for Joy studio. And we will see you guys in the new year. We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.